Hey friends, happy Monday. I am joined this week with Aaron Baccash. He's on staff here at Mayfield Counseling Centers. And today we're going to be talking about a play on mindfulness.
It's time for your Monday Minute.
So, Aaron, I always talk about how mindfulness is more about like just the practice of presence. And it can get caught up in all these different ideas of what it's supposed to be. And, pop culture has kind of taken over it too. But I think recognizing that it's just practicing coming back to the present moment, practicing being present with ourselves, with our environments, with our bodies, and all that stuff. So, with that idea in mind, you had an interesting thought about something that I don't think I would ever consider to be mindfulness, but you think is.
Yeah, so that's good. I love what you said too about how there's such a focus on mindfulness. There's such a focus on this idea, this concept. And what's really nice about it is just taking a minute to demystify it and really look at your life and look at ways that you can be locked into the present moment and find a way to integrate that into a wellness practice that is mindfulness. And so for me, a big one is it's running, it's fitness, and ultimately it's movement. It's this idea of being completely present with my body and observing that experience in a meaningful way.
So I can kind of see where you're going with this of how exercising can be mindfulness, but
Yeah.
I think I'm going to need a little bit more on how.
Yeah. So actually, what I really like the way you frame that. And for me, my experience is an evolving one with running. So I grew up in the Midwest where the only form of sports that you really think about is Sunday afternoon football, which was not my thing. I was a cross country runner in high school and college. And I took some time off after that. And when I came back to it, I was more in the mental health nonprofit space. And a lot of the experience working in mental health can be draining. And I was finding that running was this way for me to sometimes sitting down and meditating or sitting down and intentionally breathing. It's really significant and important. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And so, what I loved about running, what started to really change is when I started to use breath work as a way to be calm and be present. People talk about a runner's high. They talk
Yeah.
about the feeling that they get after running. What I would argue is when else in our life are we intentionally breathing with that kind of a cadence for 30 minutes at a time? That it's scientifically proven that dopamine, serotonin, all of those things are
Endorphins.
happening. The
Yep.
endorphins, all of that is happening. There's a body, brain, and mind reaction that's happening.
Yeah.
And for me, it is how to integrate mindfulness into that is focus on the breathing. Don't worry about this as an athletic or a
Right.
performative thing, but just be present in where you're at.
Yeah, I think what's hard for me, I am very much not a runner. We've had conversations about this.
Mhm.
So the thought of like being more engaged with my body while I'm running sounds torturous. Like it's the opposite of what I don't want to pay attention to my body when I'm running.
Sure.
But I can think about like I've even made a recent switch in my own life where I've really been considering this idea of like what is exercise and recognizing, I'm getting older, which some people are going to laugh at, some people are going to all those things, right? But I'm getting older and my body needs to be more active than it has been, and I hate going to the gym. I hate it. It's so demotivating for me. It's hard for me to get to. I'll do it for like a week and then I'll be like, this isn't even worth it a little bit. I never feel good after that. And so
Yeah.
thinking like, how do I still get this? How do I still be healthy? And thinking about it from the perspective of a word you used of just movement. What does it look like for exercise to instead just be movement? And so I started going to a climbing gym
Yeah.
because that was something that was like a fun activity, whole body workout, and just movement that was good for me. And I'm thinking about how even as I'm climbing, I can be more mindful of really taking in the textures of the wall that I'm on, really noticing the strain in my muscles, which for some reason here feels really good, but running totally doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how that can be part of that mindfulness of just being present in a way that I normally am not with my body and with my surroundings, especially if I'm doing it outside. I think that's a really cool approach. And I like what you're saying about the breathing cadence too, because there's so much to just us breathing.
Yes, there's just such a I'm big on breathing and breath work, and something I'd love to I love your point about that. It's not about just running. It's not this one thing that you can do, but really what it's doing is reframing the idea of fitness, reframing the idea of exercise. Sometimes we have a bad relationship with those words
Mm,
from our life growing up, from a hard experience in a sport, whatever that may look like. It's reframing it to say, how can I move my body in a meaningful way that is
yeah,
going to give me some of these positive mental health benefits? And sitting down and breathing, meditating, doing mindfulness exercises, that
yeah,
can be really uncomfortable. That's a really uncomfortable entry point for people.
yeah,
And I think that fitness, movement, exercise, being present with your body is a very good vehicle to get
yeah,
there. And I love what you're saying about the textures on the wall. Something that's beautiful about we live in Colorado Springs. Something that's really beautiful about living here is the weather can change in a 24-hour period drastically.
yeah.
So doing the same activity 2 days in a row,
Oh, yeah,
there's a huge opportunity to be present in what is around you, what you're
yeah,
seeing, what you're observing, and what it even the dryness in the air or the coldness in your breath. All those things are mindfulness
yeah,
exercises, and just starting to see the world in that way can really start to shift our perspective and really give us some of those same benefits of what traditionally would happen in a counseling session when I'm
yeah,
doing a breathing exercise with a client.
yeah. Thanks, Aaron. If you want more information, Aaron and I are about to have some conversation about the benefits of mindfulness on the collective. You can find a link in the description. But until then, or before then, whenever, get yourselves through Friday, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you back on Monday.